Are we gonna have enough people here?
Well, since Mr. Bailey's here.
Yeah.
We
We're
have
good right now.
architectural, we got
If
4
we didn't
votes.
have a design professional, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah,
Right.
we're good.
It's good to be wanted,
But
even if for only that reason.
we're gonna need all 4 votes.
Yeah. And this is all that's coming tonight?
We never heard from Lourdes. I don't know, did you hear from Lee? I mean, Lee's on.
It's not bad. I mean, I don't have a lot of trouble getting out of it.
Ooh, hang on, just saw something from Lee. There and a few.
I came home from Atlanta Monday about
Okay.
2:30, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, okay.
No, just
Okay.
go ahead, you know.
Okay, we'll call the February 1st, 2018 meeting of the Design Review Board to order. And per the agenda, the first item is the meeting minutes from January, which I believe were previously distributed.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, this is delicious.
Okay, have any questions of staff on the minutes?
I move we approve.
Second,
Motion and second. Any further questions or comments? I don't believe this one is anything from the audience. So all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next item on the agenda are announcements. Tim?
Yes, thank you. Item number 6, you've had temporary parking requests to be continued to the March meeting. They were not able to get their sign up or their letters out on time.
All right. Okay. Any other announcements?
No, that's it.
All right. In that case, I guess it'd be appropriate for us to take that item up, and the appropriate motion would be to continue it to the next
So moved.
meeting.
March 1st.
Okay, so we're going to continue item number 6. Thank you. Item number 6 to the March 1st meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Oh. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
Second,
Thank you. Proceed. Okay. We now have a proper motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. So that brings up item number 1.
Yes, whitewash boutique building sign. This is a request for a building sign measuring 99 inches by 30 inches for a total of 20.625 square feet. It's on the south side of 98 in Miramar Beach. She didn't provide the whole building to really see that part, but other than that, it appears to be in compliance with the scenic corridor regulations. I'll take any questions the board may have. This is a very small building, and there's not much in the way of options on where to locate this sign.
Okay. And Tim, in the package, there is the last sheet of the package has this on it.
Mhm.
Can you describe what that is?
That's the sign superimposed over the building. She doesn't show the whole building, but that's where the sign is going.
You
And
can
it-
see on the picture before the building is the front of the building, but you don't see all of the side where
Yeah,
it's going.
there's the front of the building.
Yeah.
It's covering a portion of those windows because, I mean, there's nowhere else to put it on the building. I mean, that building has a lot of windows and it's a small building, so there's just not a lot of options on where to locate that sign.
Okay. And the sign is going to be, is it hanging from the?
I think it's attached, it's attached to the wall.
Attached to the building using screws.
Yes.
On the right-hand side, you can kind of see.
Yeah. Okay. Design-wise, it's a little unusual to have a sign covering up the majority of two windows there, so.
Yeah, it is, but there's really nowhere else she can put it unless she puts it above the roof line, and that would require a deviation because the code specifically doesn't allow for that.
Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
State your name for the record, please.
Should I?
Yes, please, yeah.
I'm Rebecca Margaritas. How are you?
Hey, good, thank you.
Good.
Taking up the whole
So
thing.
it's a teeny tiny little Key West style cottage.
Yeah,
And I think it's really keeping in, the building, I think, is keeping in with what you kind of are wanting in the corridor.
Yes.
It's a very sweet, simple, old fisherman's cottage from the 1930s that was moved there. And it really did present quite a challenge as far as getting any signage. It's sandwiched between two very large buildings. It's very much set back. And so as far as getting any kind of signage, it really didn't, the space, unless you're actually physically there, it's hard to understand, but it doesn't even at the front of the building where people do the signs that are, along, closer to the street.
yeah.
The parking lot and the neighbor signs just didn't allow for it. So, and there's so many windows and a front porch, that physically is, unless you went on top of the roof, that physically is the only space that would allow for a sign.
Okay.
Is that sign that's on the right-hand side, the white sign, is that there? It says open daily on the, below it. Is that there as well?
I don't have a picture of what you're looking
Um,
at.
This one that it's got the sign that you've got up there, but then over to the right, it says it's got a smaller,
That is there, yes.
that is there, okay.
Yes.
It's like a monument sign?
Yes.
Or is it just on a post?
Looks like a wood.
Yes.
That's the
It's a directional parking, my parking lot butts up to somebody else's parking lot, so there's a sign now on there that says our parking is over here, so my customers aren't taking their parking spots.
Is that sign's on the building, right? It's on there now? The whitewash
The
boutique sign?
whitewash boutique,
Yes.
it
Yes.
is on there, yes.
Okay.
And it is attached to the actual wood structure.
Okay. This is a very, very unusual condition.
I'm looking to see if I have a picture of the whole building where you can see it all
Yeah, it would be
together, because it
Yeah.
blends naturally in with it, and I'm, maybe on Facebook you can see it.
Okay.
I think this is the building, right? Is there another way to sign off?
And then on the first page of the graphics, it has something, it says that there are no existing signs on the property. But there is, you said there's a directional sign?
The freestanding sign is directing my customers away from parking in my neighbor's parking spaces. That's the one that you pointed out, that's what that sign is.
But it says whitewash boutique, clothing, jewelry, gifts,
Right,
accessories.
and then now it says parking underneath it, so that,
Instead of the open daily. Okay.
correct. This is a better picture. where you
Okay.
can see more of the building.
Yeah.
It's just faded.
Yeah, oop, it just,
faded.
yeah,
Oh,
the
just
camera
faded.
just
The camera just.
went to sleep mode.
Cute little building.
Yeah. I'll share and I'm gonna guess I know the answer to this, but, the sign is extremely large in relation to the building, and I know the building is extremely small, and I
think you might have the wrong dimensions there. What are the dimensions that you have of the building?
well, I'm just
just a
looking
picture.
at this image.
Oh, well.
And that's the sign
but you
actually-
can see the whole building right there,
Yeah,
and so the sign it's about half of what's allowable.
oh, yeah, no, understood. When I say it's, and that's what I mean, it's an extremely large sign in relation to the building, but I understand that it's a very small sign in relation to what's permissible
And it's also a very small sign in relation to everything that's
around it.
Kind
Okay,
of a fraction of what my neighbors are.
yeah.
and
What
everybody
is,
else
what is
around.
on either side of you?
Pardon me?
What
Oh,
buildings
I'm
are
in
on
between
either
Not Too Shabby and
Jay Miller?
J. Miller.
Okay.
And actually, there's another building, Ginger's Vacation
Oh,
Rentals or
okay.
something like that.
All right. That's good. That last statement is probably as helpful as the whole rest of the package together. It would be beneficial, should we ever get a project this unusual, to have more of what's around it so that we can understand it. I'm in,
Context.
yeah, the context of what's going on. I'm familiar with the buildings on either side of you just from driving by them all the time.
And you're not aware of that.
And I
building.
didn't even, I have to admit, I'm pretty good at
And that is,
picking up little buildings and,
that is the
Yeah.
huge challenge that I face. And there's
yeah.
all kinds of bushes and trees and things like that block me. So if you're heading towards Destin, you would not see my building no matter what kind of sign I put up. So the only
Yeah.
way that you can actually be visible at all is getting
Yep.
from the other, going towards Panama City Beach.
Okay, well, does anybody have any other questions?
Well, I'm finally got where I can see it
Okay.
on Google Earth.
It's kind of like being the little greenhouse in Monopoly around a bunch of the red houses.
Yeah.
Right. A quandary. Because,
I mean, I'll make a few observations. I mean, you know, I think the spirit of the code, in most applicants' cases, they're dealing with a very different building in a very different context. I mean, this is an extremely unusual, I can tell you that this sign on just about any other building we've ever seen would not be approved. It's, the character of the sign is a bit, it's unusual to have a sign that's this handmade looking. And that took me aback when I first saw the picture, but again, the building is a very unusual building for the corridor, and it's not a bad, that's not a bad thing. It is what it is. But just so you know why, at least
Well,
I'll
no,
speak for myself, that's why I'm
believe
struggling
me, I
with this.
completely understand it, and it's one of those
Yeah.
situations where you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And I totally appreciate what you're trying to do to keep the corridor beautiful.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here and not in
Yes.
Destin where there's loud, crazy things. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep with the spirit of that
Okay.
and the spirit of the building.
Yeah.
And a big red neon sign that would be permittable,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just not appropriate for
Yeah.
this
Well,
building. So.
Yeah.
Also, the scale, I mean, the scale of the building is small.
One building.
So, you know, you want everything to be in scale with the building.
And-
And I'm, you know, I don't recall exactly where it is between what buildings it is, Shabby?
Not too shabby.
Yeah. But to me, it's just, it overwhelms the building and it takes away from the character of the little cottage. You know, the sign becomes overpowering.
I'm going to ask the staff a question, and I don't mean to be rude by talking past you, but since it appears that the sign is on the building already, part of the problem that I'm having is evaluating this is that the application, this might work on a strip center where we got just enough of a glimpse of the building to understand it, but this one really needs a more complete package for us to understand what we're approving. There's a part of me that gets, it's a small building, there's not a lot of space to put a sign. The sign is undersized for the code. The applicant's description of what's going on either side leads me to want to think that approving this is not a problem, and that it will not have a detrimental effect on the corridor. But that image right there is really hard for me to get over. So-
I knew that was gonna be the case, but we can only provide to you what was provided to
Oh, understood,
us.
understood. Well, so I'm working
Really
towards,
should zoom
yeah, and I'm not,
Yeah.
this comment isn't intended to.
I thought I sent another one over that
Yeah.
had the full
Well-
scale of everything.
I mean, this
Yeah,
is what we
bear
need
with
to
me
see.
while I ramble here for a second. So,
We need to see that with the rendering of the sign. I mean, or close to this,
yeah,
so that you can get a feel for.
yeah, here's where I'm going is that since the sign is already up, and I'm assuming the business, the business is active.
Correct, we've been open.
So the sign is doing its job that it's gonna do for now, so I feel like by continuing this to the next meeting, we're not doing you a disservice as a business owner, but it would be, I would appreciate having a more complete package to make sure that we're approving something, that truly is compatible with the corridor, et cetera, et cetera. This is just a very unusual application. I don't want to give you the impression that and as the chair, I don't make motions, but that I'm inclined to disprove it. But it's more of a procedural challenge, getting something like this in. And
It's almost physically impossible for you actually not going to the site.
Yes.
To really get, I mean, even if I stood across the street and took a picture of all of the buildings together,
Yeah.
this is so
yeah.
minuscule.
Well, and understood, and it could be a photograph of the building on one side and a photograph of the building on the other side and a complete photograph of this building. And again, you've got the benefit of having the sign on the building, which procedurally is a little backwards, but that we could understand what we're looking at. Now, it wasn't that long ago we had Not Too Shabby in front of us, and so I've got that pretty clearly in my mind. And Ms. Moore,
that is a two-story
Oh, yeah,
humongous building, and scale-wise, again, next to it, when I'm in between all these buildings, and even
Yeah.
the whitewash, it may appear that it's large on the building,
yeah.
it's really not
Okay.
large on the building, and like I said, it's half of what the code would allow.
Okay.
Um,
Just one other question while I'm sort of got the microphone here. Is there any plan to light the sign in any manner?
It says not.
There is
Oh,
electricity, an electrical outlet above there that we could light the sign.
Okay, so you would have a light mounted
It would
above and
almost
facing
be,
the-
I think the only way you would be able to do it is put a fixture up there that had like,
Gooseneck?
yes,
Okay.
fixtures that would kind of go over top of it.
And
That
those are.
would really be the only alternative, because the code says if it's gonna be internally lit, it has to be channel or reverse channel letters, and this isn't, so that's really the only.
Oh, yeah,
option.
no, I understand. Yeah.
The goosenecks would have to be on top of the roof, extend from the roof and go over.
The whole building really presents a very big challenge for fitting into
Yeah.
everything that you're looking for, and physically finding the space on the building to be able to do it. And without having signage, there's no way to survive.
Oh, understood, yeah.
And you're not able to hang it from the porch?
Couldn't you do, whitewash boutique and just hang it all throughout the porch, so it's just one line rather than, but it wouldn't be, you can't make it as big.
Isn't your rule, well, that would not work, and I can tell you why, because the porch height
No, no.
is not
That's
tall
what I'm
enough.
saying.
Yeah, it would,
Okay.
it's
That's what
only,
I was
I think it's a
curious about.
7-foot,
Got it.
it's a really, the
Okay.
whole building is teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what
Because I think
saying,
that
you can't make it that big and you wouldn't be able to see from the porch out.
Right, I think the letters, the actual, like, white letters are, I don't even think that they're 12 inches.
Yeah, but it looks big, it looks huge because of the building. You know, everything that, when you scale something, when you look at scale, it all is in a reference point, you know? So this looks big because the building's small.
Right. but it's
And
still half of what's
unfortunately,
what's
that's,
allowed.
you know,
Yeah.
I think
That's
my
the
issue with it is that it covers those windows and really messes up the facade of the building as far as, because the building's really cute. And of course, we can't see it except just the small picture
I
that
know.
zooms in on it. But from looking at that, it makes it look like it,
I am certainly open to any suggestions you have
The
to
building is-
fit a sign that is, you know, within the size code and find a place to put it. And believe me, I looked at hanging it. That would have been a preferable thing for me
right.
to hang it that
No, I
way.
understand. I mean, I look at the building, and the building is adorable, you know, I mean, I just. it-
And
it
the
just-
sign is
to-
really fitting on the building. It really is appropriate and fitting on the building.
I
Well,
passed it, I'm sorry.
You know, I disagree with that. You know, the sign to me is like takes away from the building because it looks so large. I mean, you know, but
Again,
I
I
don't
think
know
if
what,
you were-
what the answer is. You
Yeah,
know,
I
that's
think
my
if you were
problem.
there,
I
you
keep-
might feel
I'm
differently.
I'm in a quandary, like I said, because I look at this and I go, this is a great building. It's a really cute building, and what do we do to make allow for you to, which is your, you know, you deserve to be able to you know have a sign that attracts clients to your building. I mean, that's business, and you know we should allow it. But you know, I don't know what the answer is.
I think
Well,
this photo's a little deceiving.
That's-
I really do.
Yeah, so I guess that's my inclination to suggest continuing it to the next meeting to allow a better
with that.
package to review it.
And-
Since the sign's already up
Yep.
and the applicant's already
There's no
in business, I
hardship.
feel like it's kind of not creating a problem if we just
There's no
look at a better
hardship
package,
created.
so.
And I would be satisfied with a Google Earth snapshot with the sign rendered in, photoshopped in, or whatever.
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, but there's no limit on the number of photographs that can be included in an application, right?
Correct.
So, yeah.
Preferably more is better.
Yes.
Than less, so.
Okay, we have anyone inclined, if there's no other comments, I don't mean to shut this down, but if there's,
I'll make that motion that we continue it to the next meeting with a request for some photographs that show us more of the context around the building and the sign as it sits on the full building. So we
Gotcha.
can get
yeah.
an idea of the scale and the,
Would that be best,
Comparatively.
just so I understand, would that be best for me to print out, or would that be best for me to bring like on an iPad for you to look at?
Oh, no.
I think you could email them to the staff or have transmit them to the staff somehow, and,
I would suggest for you to take pictures, you know, several pictures, with all the neighbors. Okay, the context, besides the building. So we get the picture, overall picture.
Absolutely.
And that way we can get a sense of scale, not only of your cottage, but also the buildings
Sure.
on the
problem.
side.
okay, so we had a motion, I didn't hear a second yet.
Second.
Oh, you did, okay, great. And any comments from the staff or audience?
Yes, sir. We will need a full submittal, digital and printed copies of whatever she's going to submit,
Okay,
and then for the board.
okay. Okay, and if you have any questions of what that means, certainly, I encourage you to get with the staff. So, okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Brings us to item number 2. The Apex Disaster Specialist Building Sign.
I think part of the challenge is it's a residential building that we're trying to put commercial signs on, so it is challenging.
Okay, Apex Disaster Specialist Building Sign. This was pretty much the result of code action. I don't know if y'all recall, but they had a huge sign on the east side of the building that they weren't allowed to have on the east side of the building. Well, they've finally taken that down, and now they're applying for this sign that faces Highway 98. So it's a request for a building sign measuring 148 inches by 36 inches for a total of 37 square feet. It appears to be in compliance with the scenic corridor regulations. I'll entertain any questions you have.
Yeah, one question, if it's permissible to ask.
Yes, please, go ahead.
I don't see the thickness of the letters. I think we're required now, based on size, to have at least 1/4 of an inch thick? It says the sign is aluminum, it's non-illuminated, stud mounted.
Yeah, you're right, there is a minimum, there is a,
Are those letters mounted on the aluminum, or are they painted on the aluminum?
well, if they're,
Yeah,
It
is
says
it-
the logo letters are aluminum and the backer is aluminum, but
Is the applicant present?
yeah, it's a good question.
yeah, because I don't know if the sign is stud mounted to the building or if the letters are stud mounted to the sign.
right.
That's really the question, right? And if if the letters are stud mounted, then how far is the,
Yeah, I guess I misread it because I thought it was saying aluminum letters, but it doesn't actually say that.
Well, it says on the, under sign
Yeah,
materials,
logo
it
letters,
says,
aluminum.
sign materials, backer, .80 aluminum, logo letters, aluminum, color per color key.
Yeah, you're right, they don't give them what it is, but I mean, I always try to make sure, and sometimes I can't tell, like I wasn't here last month, but the Escape Zone 60, I mean, I can't always ascertain whether they're three-dimensional or not, but looking, when it said .080 aluminum, I mean, that tells me that they're at least three-dimensional letters, but you're right, I mean, it does have a minimum rise that's required, and I believe it is 3/8 of an inch.
so they're not here, so can we find that out? It looks like this sign is up as well already?
Yes, it is up. Actually, I think this is the result, as was the previous one, of code action. They put the sign up
That's
without.
right, you said code action. So I'll make a motion to continue this to the next meeting with hopefully more information about how these letters are mounted and whether it meets the code.
Yeah, it's being done by Eloquent Signs, so I'll get with them.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All right, do we have any further questions of the staff, or, well, the applicant's not here, so any further questions or comments?
No.
Any from the audience? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Excuse me.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That brings up item number 3.
Forest View Village Office Complex color deviation. This is a request for a color deviation for Roycroft Pewter and Sierra Redwood. And I'll let them present it because they know way more about it than I do. But if you have any questions, I'll certainly try to answer them.
All right. So the applicant's coming to make a presentation?
Yes.
Great.
Good evening. I'm David Smith with Interline Engineering, and I'm the civil engineer on the project. And I'm also here with Joe Doherty, the project architect. And I'll be brief, but we came before this board last month on January the 4th, and the office building project was approved, but there was some discussion regarding whether the building material or the roof, because we're using a barrel roof, required a deviation. And we were requesting a deviation for color to be heard tonight on this meeting. And you all directed staff to go back and determine if a deviation was required for the roof and for the material, and they determined it was. So we did submit the additional deviation request. So we're before you this evening for 3 separate deviations. I believe they're the next 3 items on your agenda. Also, last month, there were 2 points of clarification that were discussed. One was the mechanical equipment, if it was visible from the road, and in your packages, there are elevations that shows that it is screened. And the second item, the point of clarification that was discussed was in reference to the irrigation, is if it was an automatic irrigation system, and it is, and it's on the landscape plan, and we have discussed that with staff, and they agree. So I did want to address the 2 points of clarification, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe Doherty, the project architect, to discuss the deviations, and then we can answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
You'll have to, Joe Doherty, Doherty Architectural, you'll have to excuse my casualness. My day ran a little short, so I had to come straight here. Would the first deviation be the color?
Let's
Request?
see.
Yes.
Yes, color. Colors first, then roof, then building materials.
Okay. The colors that we are proposing initially, because of the size of the building being approximately 190 feet long, from a design standpoint, it was important for us to break it up, break the scale down visually. The colors that you see there, the stucco is Munsell color. The other two, the rain shield or ventilated facade, which is another item, but that's it's the, I guess the equivalent Munsell color. It's with Sherwin-Williams. It's called out as a redwood, but it's not really that red. I actually got an actual sample of the panel here for the color. And the pewter is it's called Rhine zinc. It's a metal cladding, and it's a pretty much a dull finish metal panel.
Do you mind passing the samples you have around?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be the actual color, green panel or ventilated facade.
Okay, and while that's making its rounds, just to check with the members of the board, do we want to hear all the presentations and then we can go back and approve the 3 items? Or do we want to do them presentation, dispose of it, presentation, dispose of it?
Well, the thing is, I think the building color and the
Materials,
building
that's-
material is pretty closely related.
That's exactly why I asked the question.
So,
do
yeah.
do we want to go ahead and jump to the material presentation?
That's what I would prefer.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
The material Trespa is actually it's called a rain shield, but it's also a ventilated facade, and it's applied to the facade of a building with an airspace between the panel and the substrate behind it, and it gives not only aesthetics but technically it provides a protection from heat gain. It doesn't break down from UV rays, and it really, this building, that facade facing due west is going to get hit pretty hard. So we wanted a material that wouldn't break down because of the size of the building, and that panel being 30-some feet tall. We wanted to keep maintenance because it's a commercial building down to a minimum.
How thick is the panel itself? Is this a,
That's just, no, actually it's 3/8 to a ½ inch thick, and that all depends on the zone you're in as far as
structurally, yeah.
wind loading and structural. And what it does, it allows ambient air to constantly flow, behind the panel.
yeah.
And keep, it's almost, ventilated is what it is.
This says light mahogany, but on the list it says Sierra redwood.
Because the Sherwin-Williams equivalent to the Munsell color
Uh-huh.
came up as Sherwin.
So this is the actual Munsell color?
That is the actual,
Munsell color.
that is the color we will use, yes, or if approved.
Well, it says
This is the Munsell color. That is the color that you would use.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's the
according-
closest.
according to the document here, it says Sherwin-Williams Sierra redwood, but this says light mahogany. Am I missing something?
Well,
It might say that, but the color itself is.
In other words, the sample's a
closest
different
color to
manufacturer.
This
Okay.
Munsell.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
the redwood is a little misleading. It's,
Okay.
that's
Let's
the
not-
color.
let's not
That
sound
is
like
the
the
color.
color.
That is the color.
Yeah.
And we wanted it, we wanted a panel that didn't have a lot of striations in it, so it didn't look like fake wood.
Right.
So more of a panel than,
Right,
you know,
right.
And Trespa is a material, what is it composed of? Do you know?
it's actually a green material, actually. But the actual properties, it's several compressed materials.
Okay.
Tom,
I know you-
together.
Is it,
Yeah, that's what
right,
I'm-
is it plastic or, I mean,
No, it's not plastic.
no.
It's a
but,
composite, but it's not a, it's not plastic. I mean, you can pull it up if
Yeah.
if you want to. It's
HP. Also, what does HPL stand
You're on a hunt.
for?
Is it Trespa? Or Tresca? Okay.
And so you'll understand why we're sweating this, is we've had in the past, both specific to projects as well as a general discussion about exterior cladding materials. And I'd say they fall into a couple different categories. We've had several commercial buildings using insulated steel panels, pre-finished, various pre-finished metals and things like that. And so we're trying to generate as broad a palette of materials as we can, without the potential of having buildings that kind of misuse those in terms of scale and things like that. I mean, I can say from my own perspective, you guys clearly have a handle on scale, and you've talked about it as part of your presentation. That's the reason you're using this particular material, is you've got a fairly large building and you're trying to get the scale right and all that type of stuff. So bear with us, I guess, is my point,
Sure.
while we're trying to work through this. This website has a lot going on. It's in multiple languages, and it's scrolling through the languages while I'm looking at it, so, some of which are symbols. So,
It's not a inexpensive material.
oh, I'm sorry, the sample,
Yeah.
where did it end up?
Right, sorry.
Yeah, Trespa. That's what I was like looking at.
Okay, HPL stands for High Pressure Compact Laminate. There's lots of initials in here. So it's 70% natural fibers and thermosetting resins. Manufactured under high pressures and temperatures, gives a highly stable, dense panel with good strength to weight ratio. And it looks like from the photographs, it's used on a lot of very nice buildings.
I like this panel. I think it's
That
Yeah.
is
really
I've used-
elegant.
I've actually used it on a house, a curved house, which was a little more technical, but in an office building, and it's performs really well.
Highly scratch.
It looks really
impact
well.
resistance, consistent high density throughout, machinable, workable like hardwood.
Back to the color, since we're kind of looking at these together. The pewter color, is that this dark gray accent that is on the, it's kind of behind this wall? Or is that,
on the front.
Yep, that's the other plane.
is it these?
Yes, it is. It's, that's more to show kind of shade and shadow.
see, yeah, the front of the building's casting shade.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
we just did that for effect. It's just-
Yeah, yeah, I see the left
But
is
it's
lighter.
a matte finish, metal,
Let me see what,
so there's no glare or reflection from it. So-
Okay. But, I think our previous conversations about panels and things like that, textures, et cetera, I mean, this seems to be consistent with the type of thing that we talked about being a good thing for the corridor, so, as one of the design professionals sitting here, I can tell you that I think it's appropriate for the design of the building and for the corridor.
I agree.
Yeah, I like this panel.
Yeah.
I was thinking about using it in other areas.
Yeah.
get
But-
some ideas.
And I
No,
think
and
that-
I totally agree with you in terms of trying to get the one that doesn't have the grain,
Right,
because I hate fake wood,
yeah, I agree.
because they never make it right, so. But-
Okay. Do we have any other questions of the applicant or anybody willing to make a motion of some sort?
I make a motion to approve both the color and the material.
I second.
And, Madam Attorney, is it okay if should we do that as two separate actions, or?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
just since they're itemized
Yeah, okay.
separately on the agenda.
So the
Okay.
color first.
Okay. Motion to approve the color?
Second.
Motion and a second. Do you have any further questions or comments of staff or the applicant on the board? Okay, anybody in the audience wish to comment? Yes, ma'am. If you could come forward and introduce yourself for the record.
Coy Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. This is a pretty building, but I don't think it belongs here. It doesn't look beachy. It reminds me of work and not vacation. Also, I would like to say that it can't go there because all of Section 5 of 18 West 3 South belongs to me. It's part of the land that was leased to St. Joe through the Atlantic Pensacola Railroad, and all of the land that was leased to St. Joe through the railroad grant is now returned to the Choctaw Nation, which is me. So that's why that land has always been forestry. It's Indian living and hunting ground, so nothing can be built on it. That's why the way the trees were cut down was very sketchy. They went behind the tree line and cut out all the forest behind the trees where you couldn't see it, because that's how they do it here. But anyways, I'm looking at the deeds on this land, and it goes back to the oldest one says 2005 for $100. It's a quitclaim deed. It was land given to the Walton County Board of County Commissioners as part of a conservation deal. It's listed as along with 4 conservation easements. And when you look at the satellite of this land, there's the parcel they're talking about, and there's several parcels around it that have all been clear cut, except for the little bit of green right around the wet spot. Now, this entire area was part of a conservation easement because of those wet spots that I'm sure were mitigated and blah, 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 blah. But this entire area is supposed to remain forest. But what they've done is they've cut down all the trees except for the 4 little wet spots that classified this land as conservation land. So now that oldest deed, Walton County Board of County Commissioners, they gave it to themselves in Walton County Community Service, and the Community Service sold it to Forest View for $10 million. Okay, so that means that the Board of County Commissioners got this land as a conservation easement for $0. $100 is $0. And then they made $10 million when Forest View bought it from them. Okay, but then guess what? Forest View sold the other lots back to them for millions of dollars. They sold the lot just next to this one to the Walton County School Board for like $2 or $6 million. I haven't found the full $10 million yet because I've only had 5 minutes to look at it. But if you click on each one of these lands, you can see that they were given to Walton County Commissioners for free and then sold to Forest View for $10 million, who has then cut up the land into 4 or 5 pieces and sold it back to the county. So you see, this is the scandal that's going on in this town about land being developed that's not supposed to be developed, and the county just making bank off of it. And now I can really understand why development is such a big thing down here, because everybody's getting it for free. All of these $100 quit claims, all of this land doesn't belong to Walton County. A, it's the point of Washington County, but B, it's...
Ma'am, I just
I
appreciate that. I have an obligation as the chair to make sure that we keep matters related to the topic in front of us. You started by talking about the building, which is great.
Okay, well, it's
You've-
not going to be
you've left
built,
that-
is what I'm going to say, is because
Okay.
this land can only and forever and always be trees.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
going to suggest that that concern that you've described is one that's more appropriately brought before a different board.
The county commissioners, right.
Yes.
But you see, I thought maybe if I started coming to these meetings and stopping these illegal developments before they got to the board, I wouldn't have to waste the board or my own time by going to those meetings, which are going to get shorter and shorter and shorter because they're not going to have anything left to do. So I thought I'd go ahead and knock them out
Okay.
early
Ma'am.
before they even get there. So
Thank you.
this is a very lovely building, but it can't be built here. So basically, everything you're doing is
Well-
is a waste of your own time. So
Okay,
thank
well-
you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else like to speak? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, the second item we were talking about was the material deviation. Since I think we've had a presentation, if everybody's okay with it, we'll jump right into,
Motion to approve the material.
Second.
okay, properly moved and seconded. Do we have any other questions or comments? The staff, anybody in the audience like to comment? And ma'am, you may comment again if it's relevant. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
It's also going to sink into the earth after the next hurricane.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one more item related to this, and that is the roof style deviation. We haven't heard about this yet, so, sir, if you'd like to give us a...
The barrel vault we used, we looked at different variations of roof, compositions, and it seemed the flat and the barrel vault roof for this design anyway seemed the most appropriate, again, for its location.
Okay, and I guess my only question or comment is that I believe when we referred this back to staff for more information, part of our conversation was about how the roof slope on a barrel vault would be calculated, and if the staff, and I guess everybody here is comfortable that this is a sufficient description of what the deviation is, then I guess we can take action. So...
Are you satisfied? You-
Well, I'm just,
What was indicated to me was with this type of roof, with this barrel roof, that the pitch is irrelevant.
okay,
So that's why we did it as style. It's a roof style, a type of roof deviation.
so I mean, I guess
So it's a deviation.
yeah, so
That was
I'm
the
asking
big
a
thing.
relatively high-level question in the sense is since we've got a package of drawings and we're providing a deviation for the roof, we really don't need to worry about, it's just, this building with this particular roof is good to go.
Yes.
Good,
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
we allow flat roofs and we allow, 10 and 12 roofs.
Yeah,
This fits in between.
yeah. So I guess, I mean, the other
I mean, in
option
my
would be
mind,
is that if a
right.
barrel vault somehow met the criteria, then we wouldn't have it as a deviation and we'd approve, okay,
Correct.
good. So, okay, we're good. All right, in that case, anybody else have any questions or rambling comments or short comments?
No.
I move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions of staff? Any comments from the audience?
You started with a rambling comment, so I'm allowed to do it too.
I know. But mine was germane to the topic at hand. But it started off that way, yes. So, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lourdes, are you going to keep my trespass?
You have another one?
Okay.
Did you take a picture of it with your phone?
So item number 6 was already continued, and that brings us to item number 7.
Well, I'll call. Thanks.
Our public workshop to discuss amending Chapter 13 of the Walton County Land Development Code, specifically those portions pertaining to signage and lighting. And since our meeting a couple months ago, Tim and I really haven't had a chance to get together and talk meaningfully about the lighting portion of it. I guess, is there any desire to talk about the signage portion of it? if we don't really have a lot to talk about, probably the best way to handle this to avoid burning one of our meetings is to continue it.
Yeah, I think we got the signage down. It was the
Yeah.
lighting that
Yep.
have a little more to go, so.
The thought did occur to me, for whatever this is worth, that perhaps, and I hope I'm not unfairly characterizing this, but there seemed to be an interest in dealing with the lighting, light pollution. There were many comments and much discussion about making sure that we don't degrade safety and security in accomplishing that. So I don't know if there were particular concerns with the model standard that we had looked at last time, or whether, perhaps trying to figure out a way to include the model standard as part of the code. And maybe that's a way to get something done. I think trying to reverse engineer some of that information into our code is perhaps pointless. Why don't we just use the model code the way it was drawn up? So maybe we could, I'm glad to. Staff, do you have any thoughts about that? I'm reminded this last couple of days, the night sky, for those of you that walk around at night, was incredible. And so I'd like to make sure we preserve that.
I don't see why we couldn't do that. I mean, it would make that section lighting, way larger than it is now, but I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
You just gotta, it's gotta be understandable for the people that's gonna use it. So we might wanna look at whether all of it is applicable. If it is, fine, we can put it in the code. No, but I'm just saying we should make sure if it's, 20 pages long, that we really need all 20 pages.
Okay. And one other observation I have, also last night I happened to be driving down 30A, and Shunk Gully is a new building. I don't know if y'all have seen it. It's next to Gulf Place. And it has some impressive lighting on the building. It appears to be turtle friendly and that type of thing. So compliments to the staff and the designers for making that happen. And then I turned and looked south, closer to the Gulf, and the county parking lot was there with its
Oh, no.
it's pretty awful light, so I don't think the turtles are going to be able to see Shunk Gully's lighting due to the fact that
You're saying it's too bright for them to see the street?
Yeah, well, the county's parking lot, unfortunately, is kind of renders all of that effort. And I'm not picking on the county staff present. It's our collective parking lot.
It's the TDC.
The TDC, I'm sorry, the TDC's parking lot. Okay, but
We'll be happy to pass those comments along to them.
Practice what we
yes.
preach.
Well, my reason for mentioning that is that the code has one decision to make with this code is whether it applies to public right-of-ways and public properties as well.
And I'll add to that, whether it applies to just the scenic corridor
Or further, yes.
Or all corridors.
And
Yeah.
that's not for us to decide, but I think we could possibly recommend.
Yeah.
You can recommend that to the county commission, but we're looking at chapter 13, so that
Yep.
would be limited to the scenic corridor.
Yeah.
Yep, which would also negate most public.
But that should be in the county regulations. I mean, that
Well, yeah.
should be brought up to the.
And we did
county.
talk about the fact that in some ways, Chapter 5 feeds into Chapter 13, and in other ways, perhaps Chapter 13 could generate stuff that maybe starts to feed into Chapter 5 as a countywide regulation. So, anyway, I guess maybe if we need to staff, if you could retransmit the sample code to everybody, and everybody take a peek at it and think about that question.
How long was it? Just a wild guess. I mean, it was pretty lengthy, and it's kind of technical. I don't know that if I look at it, I'll really understand what the heck I'm looking at. Just being honest.
It'd be nice if David would do an executive.
That would be great.
In layman's terms.
Okay, I think this is the document, but it includes, this is like the IRS instructions and forms for those of you that are doing your taxes now.
Yes.
So, let's see, ordinance text, page 15, 16.
And if there is some of it that doesn't apply,
Yeah.
we don't need to.
Well, including all the exhibits, and every page is, I think, is Okay, it's 40-something pages, but half of every page is the instructions. So I think the ordinance itself is 20 pages. So,
Sorry, 20?
20. And a page, I mean, what I'm saying, that, for
That's not
this
bad.
example, that's a page, so that would be one page, so there's 20 of those. So
That's
we
not
might
bad.
be able to get that information on a lot less. than a
Mr.
page.
Chairman, one of the things that we are attempting to do as part of the update to the Land Development Code
Yes.
is, and this applies to the comprehensive plan, where we're taking the hard standards out of the comprehensive plan, moving those to the Land Development Code. We're going to create a technical manual that will be a subset of the Land Development Code, a supplement, if you will, that will be where we put the more technical descriptions of how you actually meet the standards in the Land Development Code.
Yeah.
We're proposing, the Land Development Code will have to be adopted by ordinance with 2 public hearings at the Board of County Commissioners. The technical manual could be updated by resolution with just 1 meeting at the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
So that's how we're proposing to deal with some of the more esoteric parts of the Land Development Code that really deal with how you meet the standard, not what the standard is.
Understood.
So it
Okay.
very well could be that some of the information that's in this model ordinance could be in the technical manual, while what we really want to be in the Land Development Code could be placed there.
Could be much shorter. Okay. All right. Okay, well, I don't know, did that constitute, Madam Attorney? Did we just have a workshop? I guess so. Okay, so I guess we
We burned
we
one
burned the
up
workshop.
anyway.
Sorry about that.
Well, that was the last one, I believe. So if that's the case, we'll have to go back to the county commission to ask for more. Would still give us, it's not a problem, it's just a matter of,
I would suggest we just discuss
Continue it.
postponing.
yeah,
it.
continue it.
Yeah.
Continue it.
Okay.
But he was asking, does that count as one? And I think
We
we
just
can
post-
say that it doesn't.
So,
Well, I'm not sure what requirements that you're speaking of. Is there
Well,
some
they,
number? I'm not
we
familiar
got,
with the process.
I think Sydney got,
Three.
that's what I was thinking, 3. We've done 2. 'Cause a
We
lot
didn't
of
make any
them-
decisions.
A lot of them have been continued.
yeah.
So if we had it, it would be the 3rd, and we'd have to request additional. But I say we
Continue.
have it,
We
and we
continue
continue this
to the
last one.
next
To the
meeting.
March meeting?
Second.
Okay.
If you're okay with
Well,
that.
if that's, if that's the decision that the board wants to come to as a matter of policy, that you're gonna continue this and, yeah, you can call it one.
And we've
second
we've
workshop.
done that a few times
Yeah.
in this
Yeah,
process.
that's.
We're getting good at, we had a good record of continuing things today.
We did, almost
All right.
I don't
everything.
think anybody's gonna begrudge us for spending.
Yeah,
time.
well,
No, I don't think that's a problem.
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comment from the audience?
Who made the motion? I think, did you make the motion?
Seconded.
Lourdes seconded.
Yes.
Karen's just trying to get the
Oh, okay.
record here.
Yes, ma'am, come forward.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not have a chance to read this part. Click on the link and read the 20, 40 pages you're talking about.
Yeah.
Are we talking about allowing more light or not
No,
allowing
no,
more
no, no,
light?
no.
Opposite.
Less,
The opposite.
less
Okay.
light, yes.
Okay, good, because I am very concerned about, like, I understand the county needs parking, but I'm worried about the light that it creates. And,
Yep.
you know, we have such great sea turtles because we're dark.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to make sure we were going darker.
Yeah,
not
my,
lighter.
No, but that's what I was saying.
And like I said, I haven't read it yet.
yeah,
We
in
want
a,
the county to practice what they preach. Because they make everybody else have turtle lights.
Well,
and then they don't have them.
Well, I know right here, this parking lot has white lights in it and not yellow, which, you know, I've had other things like life-threatening events that I've been more concerned about. But eventually, I do think somebody needs to bring that to the attention, that the county themselves breaks the rules. Of course, they always have. But anyways, I am very concerned about that yellow glow because, you know, I've been in the dark here my whole life, and that's why I wanted to live here. When I look to the left, I see the yellow Destin and I see yellow Panama City, and I don't want that yellow getting here. I'm only a mile away from the high school, and I understand that the football games need to be lit up with white light, and now the football games don't go till 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning when turtles nest, and it's just a limited time, and it is for school kids, and I like to do a little give and take, but like I hate it. I hate being able to stand in my yard and see bright white light, and that's why I'm against whatever. So anyways, I just wanted to make sure we were going darker.
We're on the same page on this one.
Okay. And I know some of you do talk to the commissioners. Maybe you could ask them why they have white lights and not turtle safe lights. I mean, I know the turtles don't get this far back, but it's that yellow haze. I don't want it here. Yeah.
We're on the same
Safety
page.
of everybody
we
and
don't
all the
either.
animals.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're with you.
Okay, in that case, we have motion.
That was your public comment.
Yeah, no, that was much appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for showing up.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The public hearings, you're saying to do something, you have to have 3 public hearings. Like there's a workshops. That's what this was supposed to be, but nobody knew about it. Like, does this classify as one of those 3 public workshops?
No,
The
no,
next
we just, we continued it to the next meeting.
I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure I understood you.
Okay,
You know, because I'm thinking politics.
okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Okay, in that case, a motion to adjourn would be appropriate.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are done.
Thank you, everyone.
Drive